All right, so let's get back into it. Continue with where we left off, and okay, so I think this is done. Actually, I think he's gonna test it now.
Let's go back to the browser.
Yeah. So let's test it. Which one? Yeah, this one. Okay. Oh, I need to stop this. And I just hit run here. That might have been easier, right? Controller. Okay, now bring this back up. So 2 works. 1 works. Now 3 should give me the error message that. So this is the error message, 404 not found. And I think usually on websites, they have like a custom. You don't usually see all this. It shows. I think each web browser has like a default 404 error screen, and then some websites have their own error screen. But I think Dan's going to show us next how to make our own custom error handling. So like this one, throw new response status exception, it's going to be like throw new my custom exception kind of deal.
And try to look at run 99. So now we get a 404 not found instead of that 500 message.
Yep.
I also want to show us that we can do this in the terminal from a command line. You can use whatever command line tool you're familiar with. There is curl. Curl is great because it's installed on everybody's machine, but there's a lot of things you have to understand about curl. I like this program HTTP-IE because I just type in HTTP what port I'm on. So in this case, 8080. So this is basically a request to HTTP localhost 8080 and then /API/runs. And we can see that because we've kind of /API/runs, and we can see.
What was it called? HTTP-IE? Do I need to get that?
A lot of things you have to understand about curl. I like this program HTTP-IE because I just type in HTTP what I want.
So HTTP. It looks, I don't know why, but that looks like hippie to me. HTTP-IE, HTTP. Okay, sudo apt install HTTP. Isn't it git though? Is it install? Okay, well, let's just do what it says here. Keyring, automake, make doc. Doing a lot of. That's the other thing too. It's like with Linux, it's like installing so many things. 48. Build essential, dpackage dev, fake root, G++, G++-13. Oh man, it just goes on, and there's so many of these library things. Library this, library that, library that. Like if I look through all of the packages that I have, there's like probably at least 100 that start with library or lib. Let's go ahead and do it. No, another thing I've noticed with this is sometimes it's really fast, like, but sometimes like the download speed is really slow. Like, it like I don't get it, like why it does that sometimes. Anyway, that wasn't too bad. Now let's try it. HTTP localhost 8080 / API / runs. I wonder what that means. Keep alive. So it's like maintaining a connection there. I wonder what this 1.1200 is. Okay. Let's try it with /99. .404 not found. It's like all the same stuff. It's all the same stuff that we see in new line. It's all the same stuff we see on the page. Okay.
To what port I'm on. So in this case, 8080. So this is basically a request to HTTP localhost 8080.
This is another thing I don't like with Brave. When I click here, you see that? Like on Chrome, if I want to just get like control of the screen or focus on the screen, so I wonder. Yeah, so I need to click in this black area. If I click here, it scrolls down. I'm not used to that.
And then /API /runs. And we can see that because we're using HTTP, the response. Now I can say, give me just the first. We'll get a, and we'll do so in the future. But at least that's a little bit better than we were doing before. So we're starting to move along, right? We have our controller methods. We are starting to build out kind of the CRUD. We have the list. We have the find by ID. Now we need to do, let's say, we need to create one, which is post. We need to update one, which is put. And we need to delete one, which is delete. So,
okay. So get, create, read, update, delete. Create, read, update, delete. So get is like read, right? I'm gonna write get read. And he's doing these out of order. I think later I'll switch the order so it's in the CRUD order. I don't like spaces after my comments. I like lowercase and straight to the text. Alright, post, put, delete. So post would be create, put would be update, delete is just delete. Delete. Okay.
So how can we create a post? All right, so I'm back in the run repository. I need to create a new method in here to be able to create a new run. So let's go ahead and call this, what is the return type? Do I need to return the run? Probably not, because I'm passing in all the info. I know what it is already. So I'm going to say void create. It's going to take a run as an argument, and then it's just going to add a run to that list. And that's all we need to do there. Now, this run is...
Let's make sure we understand that before we... Add run. Oh, that's the wrong button. Tab is the right button. Okay, void method doesn't return anything because it's creating a run of type run. Specifically, it's going to add a run, this run, one of these records, to the list of runs. Okay, Dan, what's next?
Basically going to be mutable, right? So do we need... So that should work. Let's talk about it from a controller's perspective. How are we going to handle this? So I'm going to create a method to create one. So I'll say void create, and it's going to take it.
I think I want to put some notes here. So controller. Where do I want to put it? Maybe up here. Slash star 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 slash. Controllers take requests and respond. Maybe that's okay for now. My baby is upset. Repositories. Oh boy, I wish I wrote this down before. What do they do? In this case, it's storing the data. Let's see if I did ask that. Data access logic. Saves or retrieves data from the database. Hold on. Separation of concerns. Keeps the data access out of the business logic. Bum, bum, bum. So is the controller the business logic? No. The service is the business logic. I don't think I have this in here. What would be the service? The methods that are in there? No. I don't know. Interacts with the database. Okay. In this case, right now, data is stored locally here. Later in the tutorial, he's going to have us use an H2 database, which is still in memory, I think. And then right after that, he's going to show us how to do a Postgres database. Now, I already have a MySQL database set up. And I had that linking correctly, and I was playing around with it a little bit. But I think I'm going to follow his tutorial and go ahead and do Postgres, which I think is like more professional or more used in the something you'd use in a job more than MySQL, I suppose. But I think a lot of the, as far as I can tell, the basics are all the same with both of them, as far as like basic commands.
in a run somehow. We'll come right back to that. We'll use the run repositories.
Where are we at again, Dan? I forgot where we're at. Where are we? Got sidetracked.
To create a method is basically going to be immutable, right? So do we need... So that should work. Let's talk about it from a controller's perspective. How are we going to handle this? So I'm going to create a method to create one. So I'll say void create, and it's going to take in a run somehow. We'll come right back to that. We'll use the run repositories create method and pass in that run. Now here's where it gets a little bit interesting. We have this run, and what we need to do is we need to somehow tell this controller that this run that is getting passed into us is going to be coming from the request body. So if you've ever worked with a REST API before, you know that you like will hit a certain endpoint and you pass in a body as part of the request to use. And that'll, in this case, be in the form of JSON. It'll be a JSON object with the ID, title, started on, created, what are all of those fields as part of that request. Now, the way that we tell Spring that, hey, this argument is going to be part of the request body is, as you guessed it, an annotation. We're going to say request body, and now it knows, okay, this is coming in as part of the request body.
I want to listen to that again.
What are all of those fields with body? So if you've ever worked with a REST API before, you know that you like will hit a certain endpoint and you pass in a body before void create, create method, and pass in that run. Now here's where it gets a little bit interesting. We have this run, and what we need to do is we need to somehow tell this controller that this run that is getting passed into us is going to be coming from the request body. So if you've ever worked with a REST API before, you know that you like will hit a certain endpoint and you pass in a body as part of the request to use. And that'll, in this case, be in the form of JSON. It'll be a JSON object with the ID, title, started on, created, what are all of those fields as part of that request. Now, the way that we tell Spring that, hey,
I'm a little confused. He's talking about JSON object because I mean, a JSON object is kind of like this, right? It's kind of like a record. It has like a key and a value, basically. But in this case, this is not a key. It's like these are objects. Integer object, string, which is an object, and the local date time. So I guess what he means is as it comes from the front end, it'll be a JSON object. I don't know exactly what he means by that. I'm pretty sure that's what he means, but I don't know. Alright, controller at request body web bind. Oh, that's not what I want. That wasn't it. Here. Why? Why is it doing that? Why is it doing that? How do I keep doing the wrong spot? Isn't that where he did it?
Hey, this argument is going to be part of the request body is, as you guessed it, an annotation. We're going to say request body, and now it knows, okay, this is coming in as part of the request body.
Why?
So this is great. Up until now.
Is it because of this, Dan? Because I didn't do this part yet? Yeah. You see, Dan is using Copilot, all he has to do is press like 2 buttons and all the code is typed for him. I'm typing it manually.
Now we've been testing everything kind of manually using the browser and the command line, which is easy for GET requests, right? Because a browser can respond to a GET request. Our command line is easy to use with a GET request.
By the way, the reason I'm not using Copilot is because I want to make sure that the suggestion, like I don't want to just, it becomes too easy to just accept the suggestion and then, I don't really know what is the right suggestion. So I'd much rather listen to somebody like Dan, who's an expert. And although he's almost always, like in this video, he's almost always going with like the first suggestion. Not always though. Like he knows the difference of like when Copilot is either not giving the best or correct answer, or when it is. So, it's not for me at this time.
But now we have to send a post request.
Oh, Dan, why no space? What in the world? Why is his... Oh, it's the capital B. This is case sensitive. That's why, Dan. Okay.
Request, and we need a tool to do this in. So I talked about this in the prerequisites, but basically there are a couple options. We could do this from the command line. It's a lot to remember. I'm a visual person. I like to be able to see it run. So there are two tools that we can take a look at here, and I have a in the main repository. Actually, let's go back to the browser. If we go back to the main repository, you'll see an API folder. And in the API folder, you'll see a Postman collection and a HTTP file. This is the IntelliJ's collection. So if you're in Postman, you can load up this collection. There's a way to import that by opening that file. And now what I can do is just click on one of these. And actually, let me close all of these.
Do I need the collection? I have Postman because I was already trying to do that before. I do have Postman somewhere around here. Where is it? Where is it? Is it... Wait a minute. That's a tar. Where is Postman? I'm trying to remember how. I might have to go get the baby in a second here. She's really crying a lot. I cannot recall how I ran that. This is like the tricky part when you just start using Linux, because not everything, some stuff, do I need to run this on the terminal? Is that what I need to do? Oh no, it's here. It's here. There it is. I had to like do something tricky just to get this to work too. I had to like install something else besides Postman to get Postman to work. Okay, I don't think I need this collection. I'm assuming the collection is just like sets up some of the parameters in here and whatnot. You can see I was testing. I was testing when I was trying to do the finance tracker before I was doing something else. I was really getting hung up on the authorization. Okay, what's Dan gonna have us do? Test the GET?
Older. Don't care, don't care, don't care. All right. So now that I'm in here, I'm in the find all. You can see that it's going to localhost 8080/API/runs, and it's a GET request. We can send that request. We can get the.
Okay. I think I need to stop and run this again. Can I just do rerun? I think I need that. Okay. Okay. Where are you, Postman? Alright, let's try... What? I can't do runs? Why? Why? Can I do that here? Can I do that right here? No? Why not? What's happening right now? No, that works. Okay. What's the problem here? Localhost 8080. API runs. This should be working, right? Why? Why? I wish he explained that. Why is it doing that? What does it say in here? Let's read it. No resource found. Let me just see /1. That works. /2. /3. Okay, fair enough, but why not runs? Okay. Not sure. Maybe I had a space. Maybe I had a space. Okay. How about now, Dan?
The pretty view, where's the pretty view of all of the runs in the system, right? We can go ahead and find by ID. We know there's one in there with an ID of 1. We can get that back. Now we can start to use the other ones here. This is the create one. So this is going to send a post request to localhost 8080/API/runs. And this is the request body. We see that we're sending it raw, but this is also a JSON type. So we're sending in this request, and I think I may need to update this because this one is for probably the end result where in the case of a database, we may not send an ID. In this case, I'm going to hard code the ID in that I'm going to send because again, this is an in-memory case. I'm going to hard case of a database, we may not send an ID. In this case, I'm going to hard code the ID in that I'm going to send because, again, this is an in-memory.
Okay. Now, I think I need to copy this. Let me... So maybe that's what he was having people download from his GitHub was the... Let's just got a bracket, open and close bracket, curly bracket. So I just need this piece of it without the comma. Without the comma. Post. Say what? I obviously don't want to post that. I don't want to post that. What button? I'm just curious. So it's collections. Collections. Create a collection. Create new. Import. That must be the thing. let's do this. Post. So it's just to get... Okay. This one. Oh, I need a body. I need a body. How do I get the body? How do I get the body? Here? No. How? Params body. Params. I mean, like, what? No, I don't think. How do I make it like that? How do I make it like that, Dan? Why didn't you just teach us how to do it, Dan? Why you gotta make us go get your already, like, made thing? You can see here, he has stuff. He has stuff here, and I think this is the thing that we're supposed to get. It's got a post, a get, a post, a push, put, a delete. His post, he's just under the body tab, and then he's got raw. So maybe that's how. Maybe that's how. Maybe that is how. So I'm here. I don't want that. I want this, and then I want this. Only I don't want that. I want this to be a number 3. A new run. I'll just leave the dates. I don't really care about the dates right now, do I? I don't really care. I just change things that are easy to be changed. 8-mile run is pretty far. Okay. Send? Send. Method not allowed. Okay, I think he talks about this. I think... Why is it not allowed, though? Post. Not supported. Okay, Dan. Did I follow Dan's instructions?
Collection. So I'm saying here's my third run. Send a post request, and then go ahead and make this happen. So I'm going to send this and see what happens. We get a 405 method because it is not allowed. So let's go back to our code. And the reason for this is we haven't annotated any methods in here with a post mapping annotation. So the only methods allowed by default are, I believe, get and options. I don't even know if options is by default, but what we want to say is, hey, I have a post mapping here, and all we're going to do is use the empty parentheses here because, again, that's going to go to /API/runs. So I've saved that.
Okay. Dun 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 dun. Did he do that here? At post mapping and one of these and one of these. Do I even really need that though? Because here I don't have it. Do I really need an empty thing? Dan, do I need it? I should test it. Oh wait, I gotta rewind that thing. Rewind it. Okay. Send. It's okay. I should be able to get it. Let me get it. Let me get it. Let's get it. And I got it. Now what happens, Dan, Sorry, Dan. Whenever I hear the name Dan, I think of Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. And Dan Marino. Good old Dan Marino. Alright, what happens if that's not there? Let's rewind that. It looks like a rewind button to me. I think I can use that terminology. Postman. Okay, can you still get it? You cannot. You just can't. Why not? That worked. Let me get it again. So it doesn't look like I need that, but there's something it's not saving it. Why is it not saving it? Because I restarted it. Because here's why. So this is why you need a database. Or you need the H2. Because it's not like so one of the things that I learned with JavaScript is it can like literally it can change the HTML, but like it's not gonna persist. Like it's not gonna change the HTML permanently. At least I don't think it can. But same thing here. It was pretty cool. Like your JavaScript, it literally like the way that it does stuff is it changes the HTML. Like as the user clicks something, type something in, press enter, etc. That's what this is doing. So like somebody is sending a request to create a run, and that's happening, but then like it's not actually being stored anywhere, like not permanently. Like when the application stops, if this was running like forever, indefinitely, it would be there. But as soon as like this thing stops running, everything gets sent back to start, back to what it was, which is only 2 runs. So like somebody creating one, it's not changing the hard code. Okay.
I'm going to come back over here and attempt to do this again. And you see nothing is returned because, again, we said void, don't return anything. But I also get like a 200 back. And I'm not really sure like if something got created. Now, one way I could check this out is going over to Find All and clicking Send. And, oh, there's a 3rd run in our system. It did get created, but I wasn't really kind of notified that it was created. So I'm going to do one more thing here, and I'm going to add another annotation here called response status. And what I wanted you to do is if you're going to return something, in this case you're not returning anything, you're returning a response though, I want you to send the response status of http status.created. This is a 201 as opposed to a 200. And what this does is it notifies the sender that something did happen. It was created. So I'm going to go ahead and send this again. Now I see that I got a 201 created. I don't even need to go check anything else. I know it's there because of that response status that was sent back to me. So just one little nice feature that we can add to go ahead and update that. Okay, so we're getting there. I'm going to go back to our repository. We need to add a couple more methods for updating and deleting. So let's go ahead and do the update. Let's say void update. Oh boy, you're getting good, Copilot. So I'm going to say optional run.
He said that because like all those lines of code were just suggested correctly according to him by Copilot. Run. Okay. This method is taking in a run called run, Yes. An integer object called ID. And then we're gonna create an optional run called existing run. And we're gonna set that equal to find by ID. Find by ID. And we're going to use Y. Y, 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 Y. What? He did not. This is how he did it. 1 minute. Find by ID. ID is a run. Not an optional. It's not an optional. Is it though? Isn't it an optional? It starts out as one, but then it gets turned back. So maybe I just need to add the rest of this code. If is present, if existing run is present, then runs.set run.set no runs.set runs.set we're setting runs to runs index of existing run dot get is that a dot run at the end here? Why? Why? I'm confused here because am I in the wrong? Oh, I'm in the wrong spot. I'm in the wrong spot. I was supposed to be in the repository for all this. That would make sense why this is not working. Okay. I think I'm getting tired. Create, run. It's gonna go here. Now why? Oh, why? Runs.set. And we got runs. This is the repository. We have runs in the repository. We want to update. A method to update. In order to update, we need a run that we're going to update. And its ID. Why do we need its ID? Because, let's see here, we are have an optional run. So I guess this is like if somebody tries to update a run that doesn't exist, we need to handle that. So we have an existing run, hopefully, and then we need the ID because find by ID finds by ID. That's why. Because we already have a find method that uses the ID. So we're going to find by ID. If we find it, it's going to be existing run. So this is what this is saying is if it exists, runs dot set, and what are we going to set? What does set take? What are the arguments? Index element, index element, index comma element. What? Index comma element. I see it now. Okay. See an integer and then the element. That's why it's supposed to be a comma. He just didn't put a space there. Copilot didn't. It should be a space. So this is the element. The element is run. The index in runs that we're setting it to is this, and this is the index of existing run.get. Existing run.get. Existing run is what? Index of that run. Okay. The index. Hold on. I need to. I get it now, but I need to put it into words. It takes an index and then an element. Replaces the element at the specified position in this list with the specified element. So this is the specified element that we're going to put it in there, that we're going to set. And where are we going to set it? Well, we need to set it I just it seems like this is redundant, is it not? We need the index of the run that the person is trying to update. That's the thing right there. And we need the index of the run that the person is trying. Index of the run that they're trying to update, that which is inside of runs. It just looks weird, doesn't it? I mean, it makes sense, but it looks weird. It kind of almost like saying it twice. Sorry, it's been a while since I've done Java, so but I did do a lot of it. Okay, it makes sense to me now. We're setting if the run exists the person wants to update, we will set the run. This is the run that's passed. So a person says, hey, I have a run that I want you to replace with a run that's in the system. So they're going to say, here's the run, and here's the ID of the one that I want you to replace. We create an optional run in case the run doesn't exist. Now, we're going to look for it using the ID that the person passed us. And if it does exist, then we will go ahead and replace it. We're going to replace it by taking the run that they gave us, the updated one, and we're going to stick it into the runs list. We're going to stick it in the index of the run that matches the ID that they said. I think I'm saying that right now. Pretty sure. Okay. So I wonder if we're going to have to change that for the data. I wonder if it would be completely different for the database.
One is, hey, let's find the existing run that you're asking me to update. If it exists, so if that existing run is present, remember the optional returns back this optional that has an is present method on it. If it is present, I want you to go ahead and set the index of that existing run to the run that I passed you. All right, so that's one thing.
He said it so easier. Let's listen to Dan. Let's listen to Dan say it again.
On it. If it is present, I want you to go ahead and set the index of that existing run to the run that I passed you. All right, so that's one thing.
Still a lot of words.
Now let's say, what if we wanted to delete runs? Go ahead. This is a collection. Remove.
And also, this does nothing if it doesn't exist. Does nothing. Okay. So again, the repository has the methods that do the things with the database if there was one. That's why we're doing this here. Okay. Void delete integer ID. Bam. Oh, it's not integers. Runs.remove if run. These got a lambda here. We got a lambda. Equals ID. Okay. So they really did not teach us much about lambdas in school. And now that I did some JavaScript, they're called arrow functions, and it's like a I forget the language that's used, but a callback function, I think. Basically a function that calls another function. Or not, no. A function that returns a function. Is that right? I need to look that up because that's very important for me to know. So that is quite important to know. Where are you, GPT, when I need you? Okay. What is a lambda? Lambda. And what is an arrow function? What is a callback function? Lambda function is a small anonymous function that can be defined and executed in a single line. It is often used when a simple operation is needed temporarily. It is anonymous. No name is required. Ideal for short functions. So this is different. What? Oh, here's the Java. Okay. Runnable run. That's the anonymous part. So, function. I just don't know how to read that. Function arrow. Function lambda. Runnable run is equal to a function that does system out. Print line. Arrow function. It automatically binds this. So it's not the same as a lambda. This is inherited, and this is important. Lexical binding. This context is inherited. So this instance is inherited from the outer function. Yes. Add AB, return AB. Add equals AB, arrow function, A plus B, console log, add 3, 4. I'm a little confused about this context, but okay, here we go. And this function timer, this dot seconds is 0. Set interval with an arrow function. This dot seconds plus plus. It goes to 1000. This refers, and there's something about capture. Capture. Is this capturing? Or is this capturing? Passes an argument to another function and is executed later. Callback. The argument is callback here. And then we're saying, so inside of this function we have another function with an arrow, and it calls this function that was passed in. Well, where is this defined though? Yeah, I'm still confused about that. I'm gonna have to learn more about that later. That was one of the things that's hard to understand. Going from Java to JavaScript, the callback function. Anyway, we don't need that right now, do we? What we need.
If
we need this. Let's hear what Dan's got to say. I'm getting pretty tired.
The run.id equals the ID that we passed into. That looks pretty good. So now I'm going to go back to the collection, remove if the run.id equals the ID that we passed into. That looks pretty good.
What?
So now I'm going to go back to what if we wanted to delete runs? Go ahead. This is a collection. Remove if the run.id equals the ID that we passed into. That.
What?
The run.id equals the ID that we passed into.
He didn't even read that. Good Lord. Good Lord. Okay. I'm going to ask ChatGPT to read it to me. Where are we at? Where are we at? Where'd you go? Stop hiding. Please read this code out. Code in plain English and explain. Runs is a collection, like a list, which it is. Holds objects of type run, which it does. Remove if is a method that removes elements from the collection if they meet a certain condition. Okay. Run arrow run dot id dot equals id is a lambda expression that defines the condition for removal. The remove if method goes through, it iterates through the list. Okay. And this is the argument. The argument is a lambda. The lambda says for each run in the list, it checks if the, okay. It checks if the ID of that run matches the given ID. Sure. Okay. I get it, but what does the arrow mean? Is there a longer version of code that could do this? Okay, so it's a function. It's an anonymous function. All right, this is what I want. Using a loop and a predicate, here's how it would look. Iterator runs dot iterator. While the iterator has next, run equals iterator dot next. Really? That arrow does all that? Remove if. Yeah, it's literally one line. Remove if. It's kind of like a for each loop. Huh. Anyway, I'm getting tired. I'm going to probably have to end this video. Maybe we'll just do like one more thing and see how long the video is now. Yeah, we're just over an hour. Okay. Let's try to just finish this piece up. Try to finish this. What in the world? Come on. There we go.
That looks pretty good. So now I'm going to go back to the controller. We're going to create a couple methods here. So the first one is going to be a put. So we're going to say void update. So we're going to get the run just as we did in the create. We're going to get this through the request body. Then we need the ID of whatever run we're trying to update. So at path variable integer ID, use the run repositories to update that. That looks good, but now we have no way to respond to this yet because we haven't created an endpoint. We can do so by using the put mapping annotation. This again. Now I see that I got a 201 created. I was and deleting. Update. Oh boy, let's find the existing run. That your run is present. Remember, let's go ahead. So we're going to get the run just as we need. So at path variable integer.
Going so fast. Run repository dot update. We're calling the method. I don't know why he don't put spaces in his stuff. I guess Copilot thinks that looks better. I don't know, it looks like crap to me. Okay. Explain it again, Dan. I couldn't hear you. Couldn't hear you talking too fast.
Run, we're trying to update. So at path,
Again.
we're ready to update. So we're going to get the run just as we did in the create. We're going to get this through the request body. Then we need the ID of whatever run we're trying to update. So at path variable, integer ID, use the run repositories to update that.
Okay. Path variable meaning it's passed in from. It looks different though. Why? Okay. Just like this one. It just depends on what you put in there. I don't need get mapping. No, because it's a put. Do we need put mapping?
That looks good, but now we have no way to respond to this yet because we haven't created an endpoint. We can do so by using the put mapping annotation and the ID as a dynamic variable because we've assigned it using the path variable.
Right.
So now we can respond to a put request. Now we can respond to gets, posts, puts. How can we respond? And actually, let's come back. One more thing. I'm going to add one more response status, and I'm just going to say no content. Like, it's okay. This is a 200. I'm sorry. Instead of sending a 200, this is done. We actually have no content to send back to you.
No content.
Right? Just, again, informing the user of what's going on. So we'll do that here as well. I'll also say that this is a delete mapping to /ID. And then we'll just say void.
Oh, he's going so fast. Let me copy that. Okay. Yeah. Void.
Delete path variable. Yes, call that. So don't
so
worry.
Fast, Dan. Come on, slow down. Don't go so fast.
Delete path variable. Yes.
So fast. You're too fast. Okay. Integer ID. So I'm going to take in what was passed, the ID that was passed. I'm going to call the delete function on the repository. So, I mean, basically what I'm getting, this is just an abstraction. We're just separating these two things work hand in hand. I mean, they could be in the same, theoretically they should, or they not should, but could be in the same class. But they're just separated to keep the code more modular. That's what I get out of it. Separate the moving parts. Okay. And I do have a delete in here, do I? Yeah, I do. And I have a delete. So this should be all done.
Let's call that. So don't worry if you're not following along all of these methods. Don't worry. We're just kind of building out the CRUD of the system. We'll kind of enforce this as we go along and we move away from the in-memory representation to, say, a database call. So we've restarted. I'm going to go back to Postman. So now the system has restarted. So there's only 2 in there right now, right? Because we've sent because it restarted, and when it does, it initializes those 2 runs. But now we can go in and we can create one. So let's go ahead and create one. We got a 201, so we know that's been created.
Okay, let's check. Git works. Post works. Let's double check it. Post works.
In this case, we're going to update 3. So whatever that was before, we're going to call this and say update that.
Okay. So I need 3. Let's make another one. Let's go here, let's go here, let's go here, let's go here. And updated. Send. Why not? Put is not supported.
We have a 204, so not a 200. 204 says yes.
Oh, okay. I need to specify. I need to specify this. And that is okay. So now when I go back to my Git, it's updated. Dun dun dun. Where'd you go, Dan? I lost you. I lost you, Dan.
Everything was done. Everything was successful, but I have nothing to send back to you. And that's okay. So now we know that that's there. Let's go ahead and look at that. And there's our 3 with our updated record. And then finally, let's go ahead and delete one. So I'm going to call localhost 8080/API runs 3. So if I send that in, we also get a no content.
All right, Dan, let me slide you over here. Go back in here. Oh, no. This one. Give me another one. Give me a... I don't want that. I want to delete. I want this one. Let's delete it. Let's go to Git. It's gone. It's gone, baby.
And if I go back to find all, I'll only have my 2 in my system. So that's Postman, being able to test your API. That's important. I also included a collection for using in IntelliJ. And I think I'll do that. I'll copy that into this project. So let me say API. And let me find that. And so if you're using the IntelliJ Ultimate Edition, you can come in here and just click on this. You can actually run these right in IntelliJ, which I like, not having to leave the IDE.
Yeah, that'd be nice, but I'm pretty sure it's really expensive.
Here is the 2 in my system. If I wanted to get a one by ID, I can. If I want to go ahead and create one, I can. All is good. Now, again, you can do this through Postman. You can do this through IntelliJ. You can do this through curl. But as we start creating these methods, it's good to manually test these. We will write some tests for these later, these automated tests. But this is good, just a kind of good sane check to make sure everything is working okay. All right, now one thing I'd like to do is kind of improve on some of the error handling that we're doing here.
This light screen is killing me.
We could go into a lot more detail on this, but just for the sake of time, I'm just going to kind of clean up one thing here. So I have this throw new response status exception, hey, response not found. But we can kind of clean this up and actually create our own exception. So what I'm going to do is go into main, Java, into run, and I'm going to create something. So new class, run not found exception. Right?
Let's go ahead and do it. Let's do it. It's in run. It's in run. So it's trying to like automatically do this. Let me just try it. All right, Dan, tell me.
Looks good. And this is going to extend the runtime exception class. And we can just say run not found. But more importantly, I'm going to add that response status on here and say, hey, this is a not found. So I want you to return a 404. So now back in here, I can just...
Wait a minute. What? What'd you say, Dan?
I'm going to add that response status, and we can just say run not found, extend the exception. Right, that looks good. And this is going to extend the runtime exception class, and we can just say run not found. But
I need a constructor. I need a constructor. That's what he's doing here. It's a constructor. That there is a constructor. Not really sure what the super's doing here. It's the super to the 2 string? I don't know. Why is it super? String message. A public runtime exception gets passed a string message, and I'm doing that now. Is that what I'm doing? I'm passing. Constructs a new runtime exception with the specified detailed message. Okay. I don't really get it, but
more importantly,
okay.
I'm going to add that response status on here and say, hey,
I still don't understand why he's saying it's so important. I mean, it's going to be an error either way, right? Oops. I guess maybe this can just be displayed somehow. Makes displaying it easier.
this is a not found. So I want you to return a 404. So now back in here, I can just say throw new run not found exception.
I guess it'll throw 404 instead of 401 or whatever the other one was.
Let's see if that saves. Let's go back to...
Wait, what? Where is he at? He's in the controller. The controller is here. When you're trying to get, and we don't need that not found anymore. We just want run not found. Okay.
Maybe our test here. Let's go ahead and do this in here. And let's just say that we try to find by an ID that doesn't exist. So let's copy this and say by ID that doesn't exist. And let's say 99. So let's go ahead and try and run this. And now we just get that nice 404. Hey, this is a run not found. Here's the path so we can see that it's API/run/99. So that's kind of one good improvement. Something else we need to think about is when we're creating these new runs, we probably want to validate some data, right? Like if we just accept whatever the user sends us, that's probably not going to be a good time. We need to make sure that whatever they're sending us is valid data, right? So there are a couple different ways to do this. I'm going to show you two. I'm not a big fan of mixing and matching these, but I just wanted to kind of show you both ways to do this. So one thing I want to do is I want to make sure that when we create a run, so here is a constructor for a record. I want to say if completed on, sorry, that should be that. Then what I want you to do is throw a new illegal argument exception saying, hey, that completed date that you sent me has to be after started on. You couldn't have finished a run before you started it, right? So that's one level of validation.
All right, I'm just going to copy this right now. What I don't understand is so this is a constructor. What's weird about this too, like these arguments go into so like this would be class, right? Private class. But this one is private record. And the arguments, this has no arguments, are the keys and values, but then we're also putting a constructor. This is just weird because I never learned about it. Completed on is after started on. Started on. Then throw new illegal argument exception. And then I can say what that is. Why not before? Completed on. Oh, because I wanted to do 404 specifically. Completed on must be after started on. I don't know what the number code is for that. Why do I have errors? Why do I have errors? Try catch, what? Illegal access? Argument. Argument. I didn't say access.
Another is by using something called the validation API. And this is going to be an extra dependency that we need to bring in.
Let's do it.
So this is one of those things, if you're on start.spring.io and you go through your dependencies, you can select validation and that will bring it into your project. But as I said, there are going to be times where you're working in a project and realize you need another dependency and we need to go ahead and bring this in. So I'm going to type in dependency here and I'm going to say Spring Boot Starter validation, and that's going to come from org.springframework.boot. And if you're in IntelliJ, you need to click this little reload button that says, hey, bring in those external dependencies that we just declared, and now we can use them.
Wait. Which one did you bring in? Where is it? I don't see it.
So now in my run, now I can use the bean validation. Now we put button validation, and that's going to come from org.springframework.
Okay. Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa. Not boot. Artifact is going to be spring, starter, validation. I don't think he used a version. I don't even know. Didn't I have that? I didn't have it. Can I skip the version?
.boot. And if you're in Intel,
He's got over here starter web, starter test, dev tools, validation.
you need to click this little reload button that says, hey, bring in those external dependencies that we just declared.
Oh,
And now
he's talking about this one here. Sync. Control Shift O. The other way you can do that is right here. Also, by the way,
we can use them. So now
I didn't realize there was a little button there, but the way I was doing it before was here. Right there. For some reason, like, just refreshing this doesn't work. You gotta hit that other button.
now in my run, now I can use the Bean validation API.
Bean.
And with that comes a bunch of constraints. So one thing I could say is, hey, I don't want this title to ever be empty. So how can I do that? I can use the not empty annotation. And you'll see that it comes from Jakarta validation constraints not empty. If I look in the constraints package here, you'll see a bunch of different constraints that we can use. Hey, make sure that this is an email. Make sure it's in the...
Where is he getting that from?
Not empty. If I look in the constraints...
Go to declaration. Go to declaration. What? How did he do that? How'd you do that, boss? External libraries? Yeah, but what button did he push to do that? Whoa, what did I just do? Oh man, don't just press buttons without knowing what you're doing. It's showing me the class. Okay. It's showing me how it works. But he's got something on the side here. It's something on the... Well, which one is he in? There's like 100 of these things. Validation. But that's not what he's in. He's in Jakarta validation. Jakarta. What? How? Maven. Jakarta. I'm definitely getting too tired for this. It's this one. Yes? Yes or no? There's the thing. Okay, wait, what? Is this the thing? Is this the thing? No. Constraints. There it is. He did that in one button push. And he's on a Mac. It looks like he did Command B. I did Control B in it. brought up this class file.
Package here, you'll see a bunch of different constraints that we can use. Hey, make sure that this is an email. Make sure it's in the future. Make sure it has a min or a max. Make sure it's not null, past or present. There are all these validations that we can take advantage of here. So I'm going to put one more on miles and make sure that it's positive. I don't want you to be able to enter -5 miles because an integer
Sure.
could be negative.
Sure.
But in the case of miles, that shouldn't ever be negative. So now I have some validation constraints around this. This will automatically get run anytime we create a new instance of a run. So we're not worried about this one. But these are validation constraints saying, hey, when somebody asks if these are valid, I can let you know if they are or not. So one way we can do that is in the run controller. When someone creates a new run, hey, please go ahead and validate it. So we're using the @valid annotation.
Okay. Okay. I got too many things open here. I don't know why I can't like scroll. Why can I not scroll? These like changed colors all of a sudden. Weren't those white before? Were those not white? I guess they weren't. I guess they weren't. Alright, so create. It wants to be valid. What makes it valid though? What? Say it again, Dan, for me, please.
As in the run controller, when someone creates a new run, hey, please go ahead and validate it. So we're using the @valid.
Again, Dan.
Do that.
One more time.
We create a new instance of a run, so we're not worried about it. So now I have some validation constraints around this. This will automatically get run anytime we create a new instance of a run, so we're not worried about this one. But these are validation constraints saying, hey, when somebody asks if these are valid, I can let you know if they are or not.
If
So
someone
one way we
asks-
can do that is in the run controller. When someone creates a new run, hey, please go ahead and validate it. So we're using
That's
the
the
@valid
asking
annotation.
part.
So before we even call this run repositories create method, Spring is going to validate that the object that's getting passed in is valid based on the rules that we gave it. If it's not even going to go here, and it's going to throw a 400 bad request, again, letting the user know that something went wrong. So this has been saved. I'm going to go back over to my runners here, and I think I have an invalid one in here. Yeah, so here's one. Let's go ahead and remove the title too. So I can see this, and I can go ahead and try and post this. And right away, it's going to say, hey, that thing that you're trying.
Okay. Okay, let's try it. Let's try it. That was a create. Wait, post? You're trying to post. Trying to post. With no title. Or a blank title. What just happened? Why? Something happened? Something happened. Something happened wrong. Why? What's the problem? run controller. Whoa. I need to read that. Unsatisfied dependency. Was that the validation? Creating bean. Did I mess up the code? Invocation of init method failed. Wouldn't that be here though? What did I do wrong, Dan?
Here. So I have this throw new response status exception. Hey, response not found. But we can kind of clean this up and actually create our own exception. So what I'm going to do is go into...
Hold on a minute. Oh, man. Okay. What is the problem? What is the problem here? Is this the problem? I mean, it shouldn't be a problem. Wait, what is that? No, that's not it. That shouldn't be a problem. It was working before. Where's the controller? Before I change that. No. Let me try to... Let me just try to comment this out. Okay. Comment this out. This is the problem. Right? It's running now. So I think the problem is here. But I'm not sure. I'm going to stop the video here and take a break. I'm really tired. So I'm probably not thinking straight. So until next time.